In the summer of 1997, millions of miles from Earth, a machine began to die. NASA's Pathfinder spacecraft had successfully touched down on the red dust of Mars, sending back iconic images that captivated the world. But then, something went wrong. The transmissions suddenly stopped. Experts at Jet Propulsion Laboratory realized the rover wasn't broken, it was just occupied. It was performing low-level tasks while ignoring its most critical mission. In the world of computer science, they called it a scheduler bug. In our world, we call it procrastination. We often feel just like that rover, busy, exhausted, yet failing to do the things that actually matter. We tell ourselves we have no time, but the reality is far more unsettling. Our lives are being governed by a hidden architecture of distraction, and most of us don't even realize we've lost the keys to our own freedom. Every morning, the same ritual begins. You wake up to a screen before your feet even hit the floor. You're bouncing between apps, watching cooking videos, or scrolling through news feeds. This isn't just a bad habit, it's a biological hijacking. Deep inside your brain, a tiny cluster of neurons called the nucleus accumbens is running the show. It's your motivation engine, fueled by a chemical called dopamine. But there's a dark misconception about dopamine. It's not the chemical of pleasure, it's the chemical of wanting. It spikes when you anticipate a reward, not when you receive it. Every swipe on your phone is a gamble, a search for a nugget of novelty that might trigger a hit. This is the novelty bias, a survival mechanism from our ancestors that has been weaponized by modern technology. When you spend your day chasing these easy hits, your brain undergoes a process called downregulation. Your dopamine receptors literally decrease in number. It's like your brain is turning down the volume on satisfaction suddenly. The things that used to bring you joy, a good book, a challenging workout, a deep conversation, feel impossibly boring. You aren't losing your discipline. You're experiencing a tolerance effect. You've been recalibrated to crave instant gratification, and real life simply can't compete with the speed of an algorithm. This overstimulation is the root cause of why we can't focus. Research shows that when we work in front of a computer with a phone nearby, we only focus for an average of 40 seconds before switching tasks. We think we're being productive, but we're actually caught in a cycle of context switching. In computer science, a context switch is when a processor stops one task to start another. It has to bookmark its place, move old data out of memory, and pull new data in. Each switch comes at a cost. For us, those costs are measured in mental energy and lost hours. We try to shave bits of time off our day, microwaving food for 30 seconds less, or fast-forwarding through commercials, hoping to find an extra 30 minutes to exercise. But you don't build the life you want by saving time. You build the life you want, and then time saves itself. Consider the story of a woman who claimed she was too busy for anything extra. One Wednesday night, she came home to find her water heater had burst. Her basement was a sopping mess. Over the next few days, she dealt with plumbers and cleaning crews, spending 7 hours of her week on the disaster. If you had asked her at the start of that week if she had 7 hours to train for a triathlon, she would have said it was impossible. But when there was water in the basement, she found the time. This reveals a fundamental truth. Time is highly elastic. It stretches to accommodate what we choose to put into it. When we say, I don't have time, what we're really saying is it's not a priority. So how do we reclaim our agency? How do we find the hidden doors in the walls of our daily routine? It starts with a radical shift in perspective. We live our lives in weeks, not days. There are 168 hours in every single week. If you work 40 hours and sleep 56, you are still left with 72 hours of discretionary time. That is a staggering amount of space. The problem is that we treat this time as a series of fragmented moments to be filled, rather than a landscape to be designed. The first rule of reclaiming your life is deceptively simple. Give yourself a bedtime. It sounds like advice for a child, but it's actually the ultimate luxury. Most adults have a set wake-up time, but their bedtimes are nebulous, shifting based on how much revenge bedtime procrastination they engage in because they felt they had no control over their day. By setting a firm endpoint to your day, you create a structure that empowers your choices. When you have a bedtime, you stop crashing on the couch and start making intentional decisions about your evening hours. Next, you must learn to plan on Fridays. Sunday nights are often filled with the Sunday scaries, that vague trepidation about the coming week, but Friday afternoon is a time of low opportunity cost. You're likely already sliding into the weekend, doing nothing of consequence. Instead of wasting those hours, use them to architect your next 168 hours. Look at 3 categories: career, relationships, and self. By making a list for each, you nudge yourself toward a balanced existence, ensuring that your own well-being isn't left out of the equation. But even with a plan, the craving for distraction will return. This is where the science of willingness comes in. Most people try to use willpower to fight their cravings for social media or junk food. They try to turn off the feeling like a light switch, but you can't turn it off. The more you fight the craving monster, the more power you give it. The secret to self-control is actually giving up the struggle. You drop the rope in the tug of war. You acknowledge the thought, I'm having the thought that I need to check my phone, and you create space. In that space, you choose not to act. To truly rewire your brain, you may need a dopamine detox. This isn't about removing dopamine. You need it to live. It's about removing the artificial, hyper-stimulating sources of it. You turn down the dial on the easy hits so your receptors can upregulate and become sensitive again. For a few days, you will feel restless and irritable. This is withdrawal. Your brain is reorganizing itself. If you push through, something remarkable happens. Your attention span begins to expand. Activities that seemed boring, like reading or taking a walk without headphones, start feeling engaging again. This is the state of scatter focus, the deliberate act of letting your mind wander. In our hyper-stimulated world, we've lost the ability to be bored, but boredom is the birthplace of our best ideas. When your mind wanders, it spends nearly half its time thinking about the future. It connects the dots, plans out your goals, and solves problems you didn't even know you were working on. We don't need to fit more into our lives. We need more space between the cars on the highway so the traffic can actually move. We also have to stop the quadratic time trap of sorting our priorities. Computers found that if they spent all their time ranking every task by importance, they'd never actually do the work. Sometimes it's better to just pick a bucket and start. We can use interrupt coalescing, grouping our distractions together rather than dealing with them as they come up. If an email doesn't need a response for an hour, don't check it every 5 minutes. Group your interruptions, deal with them all at once, and then return to a low-power state of rest. True agency is the capacity to see and act on the degrees of freedom we actually have. It's about being fearless and hungry enough to say everything is learnable. Discipline isn't a character flaw you're born with. It's an operating system you can upgrade. You design your environment so that the things that provide lasting satisfaction are the path of least resistance. You lay out your workout clothes, you put your phone in another room, you batch your small, low-energy tasks into a Friday punch list so they don't haunt your deep work. As you begin to take control, your narrative changes. You stop being the soldier marching blindly through the day and become the general surveying the battlefield. You aren't just a person who works and has responsibilities. You're the kind of person who makes space for effortful fun, the kind of fun that requires planning but leaves you feeling fulfilled rather than empty. You take one night for you to engage in a hobby that involves other people, making your own joy a non-negotiable commitment. The state of your attention is the state of your life. If you're distracted in every moment, those moments accumulate into a life that feels overwhelming and directionless. But if you can learn to locate the hidden doors within yourself, you can unlock a kind of freedom that seems inconceivable from the outside. It's not about doing more, it's about becoming the steward of the hours you have. The world will continue to try to hack your brain. The algorithms will only get smarter. The craving monster will always be there, holding the other end of the rope. But now you know the secret. You know that time is elastic. You know that your brain can be rewired. And most importantly, you know that you can choose to drop the rope. The path to a meaningful life doesn't start with a new app or a better calendar. It starts with a quiet, intentional choice to reclaim your own mind. The question is no longer, do I have the time? But rather, what will I do with the 168 hours I already have? The clock is ticking, and for the first time, you're the one holding the key.